Video games in the early 2000s were definitely becoming a lot more edgy. A lot of that's due to Rockstar's Grand Theft Auto 3 being one of the most popular games at the time. With the success of GTA 3 and developers wanting to push more edgier, mature games, we saw many developers try to take what Rockstar did and make it their own. A lot of these GTA clones popped up around this time, and one that a lot of people don't know about is Total Overdose. Heck, the only reason I even knew about the game is because one of the few content creators I watched back in the day as a kid actually played through this game. And when you do a little bit of research, it actually makes sense. This game came out in 2005, which the Xbox 360 was right around the corner. And let's be real, if you wanted anything remotely like Grand Theft Auto, you were probably still playing Grand Theft Auto San Andreas or any of the other games that were a lot more in line with GTA than this game is. Even though Total Overdose is still considered an obscure game, I always wanted to play it even back then, and thankfully this game is always on sale on GOG for like a couple of bucks, so why not see what it's all about? Before we continue with this review, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that hype button. I'm showing you where the hype button is right now on screen, and you may need to go on mobile to hit the hype button as it doesn't seem to appear on desktop. I'm grateful for Jehovah God and Jesus Christ for bringing each and every one of you to my channel, as I know you could be watching or doing anything right now, but you happen to find little old me, and I know it's because of them. I'm thankful for each and every one of you for stopping by, and I hope you all have a blessed day. Now let's get back into the review. Total Overdose has you playing as Ram Cruz, a cocky ex-con who was released out of jail by his DEA agent brother after he suffered an injury trying to follow a lead about their deceased father, who the brother suspects was murdered but was covered up as an overdose. In exchange for his freedom, Ram must go undercover as a new recruit in the cartel to find out what happened to his dad and to stop whatever they're planning. On the surface, you could describe Total Overdose as a GTA clone, but that wouldn't be entirely true. GTA and its many imitators have a set list of core mechanics that I think are required to be considered a GTA clone. Open world exploration with the ability to drive a vehicle, or in Red Dead's case, a horse. Third person shooting, typically with a lock-on feature. And a mission-based progression system where the player has to complete missions in order to move forward in the story. I wouldn't say Total Overdose meets all of the criteria to be considered a GTA clone. In fact, the first thing you're going to experience in this game is its combat, and you're going to realize that this game is more of a Max Payne clone than it is a GTA clone. The shooting is one-to-one from Max Payne. There are some slight differences that I'll go over, but Ram can dodge in slow motion, run off walls, jump out of cars, and even turn into a bull. That's another thing too, compared to GTA, you'll realize that this game is really wacky, and I don't mean in that Rockstar sense where it's like kind of humorous. No, this game is just outright stupid at sometimes. Unlike Rockstar's games, which do have some level of seriousness to it, Total Overdose is completely about having fun and doing it with style. It doesn't make any sense, it's not trying to make any sense, and this is actually to the game's benefit. Even though the combat resembles Max Payne, it's not exactly one-to-one the same. First off, this game has some odd mixture of free aim, third-person shooting, and a automatic lock-on system. So depending upon the gun you have, each gun has a set range, and when you're close enough to an enemy, there'll be a radar that'll just automatically pop up on the closest enemy to you. The radar is supposed to let you know whether or not if you can hit an enemy or not, but to be honest with you, a lot of times the radar doesn't even pop up on the screen. It's like the game is bugging out, but you can still shoot the enemies by just simply aiming at them. And there are times where a gun is not supposed to be able to hit an enemy based upon the fact that the radar is not locking onto them, meaning that the gun is not able to reach that far, but there are times where it will still work just fine. The jankiness of the reticule won't mess up your overall gameplay experience, but when it doesn't pop up on screen, you basically can't do headshots. Even though you can aim at an enemy's head, the bullets normally won't actually hit their head because you're supposed to do this special lock-on that is dedicated to headshots. It's an interesting mechanic as you have to time the pull of the trigger just right or the shot won't go off. I'm sure for anyone that's just accustomed to aiming at what they want to hit at and not having to use a special lock on to do it, you'll find this to be maybe a little odd or annoying, but to be honest, I didn't find it to be a big deal. In fact, it actually plays into another key mechanic of the game. The entire combat system of Total Overdose is wrapped around this Tony Hawk-like combo system. As you cause havoc, you will gain a multiplier for each kill, and whatever moves or guns that you're currently using will increase that score. Headshots being worth a lot, I guess they just wanted it to be difficult for you to pull them off, because if you could just pop off headshots left and right. You'll just have a big combo the entire game. There's even a weird kill streak system in this game. As you kill a certain number of bad guys, you will gain rewards like extra health or even a power-up. These power-ups called loco moves are these nonsensical attacks like using a piñata as a bomb, using dual machine gun guitar cases, which I feel is the best power-up in the game, and of course they have spinning around the room and just spraying up the place like something from John Woo. These moves are very powerful, some not as good as others, but you are always invincible when you use them, and the game is constantly giving them to you. Whether they be a reward from completing a mission or getting a high kill streak or just find them around the map, you're going to always have power-ups to use. And the funny thing about these moves is, as cool as they may be, the beginning of the game is so easy that I just didn't use them because I kind of just forgot they existed. But thank Jesus, this game gets more difficult as you go along, and these power-ups can really get you out of a jam, but I gotta admit, you're still gonna have so many of them, you'll never run out, but you will notice you'll use them a lot more as you progress through the story. The combat overall isn't anything special, but it's just timeless fun. Doing gun fu in slow motion has been popular since the 80s, and it exploded once The Matrix came out. Total Overdose took something that already worked in other games and added what I can only describe as a Looney Tune-like silliness to it. It's chaotic and stupid fun, and it just clicked for me. They even have this really weird, pointless mechanic where if you kill bad guys wearing hats, the hat may flap in the air, and if you stand underneath it, it'll land on your head, giving you, I guess, some type of customization. It doesn't last long. It's just an odd decision to put in the game, but maybe it's a reference to something I'm not familiar with, but either way, I just thought it was a funny thing to add. And one other thing I have to give them credit for is a lot of these games that resemble Max Payne, they only give the main character all the cool moves, like shoot dodging and running off walls and things like that. As you play along in Total Overdose, you'll realize that some of the bad guys will actually shoot dodge against you. And I thought that was a cool way to increase the difficulty by giving the bad guys your moveset. And it makes me wonder why other games that are in this genre don't do something similar. Now, there are a few downsides to the combat, but it's nothing too major. There are bosses in this game, and they're basically just bullet sponges that are placed in small rooms, and they're identical. They're all the same thing. You could try to play the fight fair and just shoot at them like normal, but if you want to speed through it, I suggest just use your power-ups on them because these guys have such a big health bar, you might find yourself just standing in place and just shooting at them at some point. Another semi-issue is, again, this game trying to be a little bit different than the games it's copying. Games like Max Payne use basically laser precision when it comes to their guns' bullets. So if you aim at something, wherever you aim at, the bullets are going to go forward. They don't really do too much weapon spreads in these types of games. Total Overdose is completely different. Like, they decided to make guns actually behave somewhat realistic. So any gun with a high rate of fire that's used for crowd control, well, the bullets are going to spread out. They're going to fly everywhere. With the lock-on system, yeah, the bullets normally hit the enemies, but you'll notice sometimes you're shooting and bullets are just whizzing past everything but your target, and that's just because they gave the guns these realistic bullet drops and bullet spread.
Damn!
I don't know. In a different game, it would have been cool, but here, it just doesn't fit. Another issue is something that is more or less an oddity, but it's kind of cool at the same time. This game, for the most part, is devoid of music. Like, it's completely silent, and even the ambient noises, they're not all that loud or even interesting either. So most of the game just kind of sounds silent. But when you're in combat, you'll notice something. Once you get a certain amount of kills, you'll start hearing some music play. And then if you get even more kills, you'll hear more of the song play. And then you might start to hear lyrics if you get even more kills. So as a reward for getting high combos, you get to hear the music. And the music in this game is actually really good. Some of it's licensed music and some of it's not. Either way, the tracks are really good. And I do like the idea and concept of rewarding the player with good music as they're, shooting the bad guys. It kind of feeds into that adrenaline that you might see in a movie where the hero's about to go in, guns blazing, shooting up all the bad guys, and the music slowly builds up. I believe that's what they were going for. The problem is that if your combo ends, and sometimes it just ends because there's no more enemies to shoot, it's dead silence again. It just cuts off. It's like a record scratch. It's really jarring how quick the music can go off. And the weird thing is they actually fixed the problem I have. Some missions actually just have some music that's always playing, and the music gets more elevated and gets more intense as you get more kills, but even when you stop, there's at least some form of music playing. I feel they should have did that throughout the entire game instead, because it just kind of seems odd that the game just goes dead silent. Now, Total Overdose does have a open world like GTA if you squint your eyes and lie to yourself. The world, if you can even call it that, is extremely small. If I had to guess, it might not even be half as big as the first island in GTA 3. And it's not really open, as it's chopped up by loading screens all over the place. Los Toros is broken up into tiny sections, and again, I'm going to emphasize these sections are tiny, that almost remind me of Kamurocho from Yakuza, but not really. I really don't think the small town is a bad idea, it's just the way it's handled sucks. I will say the devs did enough to pack in diverse districts to make this place feel somewhat real. From a red light district to a junkyard to even a commercial area, Los Toros has everything you would expect in a city, just shrunken into a very small package. The problem is the interactions. Now, let's be real, even back in this era, even in the GTA games, the NPCs didn't have that many diverse interactions with the player, but even this game is lacking. Now, I will say I did see NPCs do some unique behaviors. Like, I've seen some that appear to be pickpocketing, and occasionally you might see some fighting and talking to each other and stuff like that. But overall, this just feels like a watered down version of what GTA has. In fact, there's not even a wanted system. Granted, in the story, you're supposed to be an undercover agent, so you can argue that wouldn't be something the character would be doing, but still, there is no wanted system. If you do shoot up some civilians, there will be a cop pop up every now and again that might shoot at you, but they don't seem to do anything other than that. And once you kill like the one cop, they don't bother you anymore. There's really nothing around the city to interact with outside of the side missions. But the worst part of it all is how you navigate this city. Remember, this is a tiny city and everything they cram packed in this small little box. And it's broken up by many different loading screens. You can turn left and then now you're going into a loading screen. You can turn right, you're hitting the loading screen. So guess what that would mean? You would probably need a very detailed map to know which road to turn on, right? Yeah, this game doesn't have a map. It has a radar. Yeah, it has a radar like Halo. I don't know whose idea this was. This makes no sense. This is stupid. And then the icons on the map are gigantic. You can't see or tell what you're doing. As you progress through the story, you get more side missions to do in the city, more areas unlock. All these gigantic icons are just on this radar, and you can't see where you're going. Thankfully, you could kind of use the streets to figure out where to go, look at the street signs, but I had to pray to Jehovah God in Jesus Christ's name just to figure out where to go to the second or third mission. I could not figure out where I was supposed to go. I was supposed to go to like a fishing packing place or something, and I kept bypassing it just because it was like really in the cut, and I could not see where to go because there's no map. There's just no map. Now, thankfully, when you do a side mission, they remove all the unnecessary icons and just put the one that you need for the mission. There are a ton of different side quests to do in the city, like racing, although as far as I could tell, there's no actual racing. It's just go to different checkpoints. You don't race against other cars. There are rampages that you can do similar to GTA 3 where you fight like the undead. It's kind of stupid. There are also regular side quests where you have to save NPCs or even do a drug bust, and you can always find collectibles throughout the city. You want to take a few minutes in between each mission to explore at least the area around you because there's normally always some important collectible right in arm's reach. Collecting certain items feeds into the semi-RPG mechanics this game has. Ram can gain more health, stamina, ammo, and even learn to dual wield by finding these collectibles around the city. You do earn these by completing main missions as well and getting high scores, but like I said, this city is so freaking small and the collectibles are everywhere that there's no reason to ignore them. Now, you're going to get around this sandbox-sized city by driving around, and I gotta be honest, driving in this game, it's not all that great. I can only compare the driving in Total Overdose to like a maybe slightly better version of the driving mechanics that were introduced in the Tony Hawk's Underground games. Collision is really bad to the point that if you even slightly bump anything during a race, you might as well just start it over. The driving can only be described as playable, like that's the best I can give it. It's not good, it just works and functions at least sometimes. When there's nothing in the road, I mean, it's perfectly fine because at that point you just can't bump into anything. But the cars just feel like cardboard. They don't feel like they have any weight. Drifting in them feels weird. It doesn't feel like there's any good momentum. Like, it doesn't feel realistic. It just doesn't feel like I'm driving a car. It feels like I'm controlling something that's moving in motion, but it's not a car. I don't even know. Like I said, that's why I said it's comparable to the Tony Hawk games, where those vehicles don't feel like cars either. The only cool thing I will say about driving this game is that there's this cool mechanic where you could drive and open the car door and still control it and then hop out and make the car explode. I thought that was fun. And that works in set piece moments, but there's no reason to do that around the city. Now, the mission structure is classic GTA, except I thought Saints Row was the first to do this, but I guess Total Overdose did it as well. This game requires you to do a side mission before you could do a main mission. Now, you only have to do one, and sometimes they don't require you to do a side mission, but majority of times you do. That's not a big deal because the side missions are all fun. They're just wacky diversions, and they're really quick, so it's nothing out of your way, and they're all around the corner. But still, that is something you have to do to progress through the story, which is extremely short, which probably explains why they make you do them anyway. Each mission opens and ends with a cutscene that involves Ram, who, keep in mind, this is just a regular guy. He doesn't have any special training. He's not like, his brother's an agent. He might have special training. This brother, Ram, the main character, he's just some idiot. All he's doing is making wisecracks, flirting with women, and just doing crazy stunts, which, again, the game never explains how he's able to do any of this stuff. He just can. Ram is the cool, rebellious brother, and each mission is designed to double down on that point. From blowing up a farm, to blowing up a ship, to blowing up a train. You'll notice you'll blow up a lot of stuff in this game. Everything Ram touches just seems to explode, and all the ladies seem to love him. The missions themselves are longer than most missions you'll find in the GTA game. In fact, this game actually has a very strange thing where you can actually save in between the missions, which makes me feel like this game was initially going to be a linear-based game where every level would just be just that, a level, a mission. There would be no open world because the open world feels tacked on, and it's probably because it was. Most missions are outside of the city, taking you to penthouses, plantations, and even to the jungle. All missions have you killing everything in sight, but sometimes you need to flip a switch or protect someone or take out a key object or drive a forklift carrying a mini nuke. This mission really just, yeah, this forklift sucks, guys. It really sucks. Like, I get Rockstar did the forklift thing with San Andreas, but I don't think the developers and I know at the time that a lot of people didn't like this mission because it was just, who wants to drive a forklift in a game where you can do this? Now, to be fair to Total Overdose, most games don't have you doing that many unique things per mission. A lot of times it's the context of the story why things seem different, but ultimately you're just doing what you did in the beginning of the game for a few hours and then the game ends. What each developer is trying to do is make sure that their game's fun factor lasts until the game ends, and thankfully Total Overdose hits this nail on the head. Total Overdose doesn't reinvent the wheel when it comes to open world game mission structure, and that's perfectly fine. They know the strength of this game is its gunplay, and each mission has great enemy placement to always have you running and gunning, with the occasional one-off gameplay mechanic just to give the player something a little bit different for each mission. Missions do get harder as you go, and when this happens, you'll be able to tap into this game's rewind feature, which I didn't even know existed until halfway through it. Basically, if you die, you can rewind time, kind of like how a modern racing game does when you crash. And you have a set number of these. You don't have infinite amount, but once again, this game gives you tons of these, and you get them all the time to the point that you can use these rewinds excessively and still end up collecting basically all the ones you just used within the matter of a few minutes. I started thinking, what's the point of saving the game mid-mission if you could just rewind time? But there are a few occasions where if you die, you have to go back to a loading screen. There's no way to rewind, and typically these are cutscene deaths. Now, as far as the rest of the story goes, it's just stupid. It's just dumb. The game is very short, and you do not grow with any of these characters. You won't feel anything about them. You won't care nothing about them because, well, the game doesn't give you enough time to grow with anybody, and they don't really let you know anything about anyone anyway. I like the cool things about Ram, the cool things he does in the gameplay, but him as a character, well, there's just no development. Like, He has just as much development as Claude Speed from GTA 3, and Claude Speed didn't even talk. The main character and the supporting cast are voiced well, and yeah, the cutscenes will keep you entertained, trust me. But as far as holding on to any emotions to anyone or anything going on, you're not going to care. Plot reveals don't matter. Like there's not really many in here anyway. Characters being in danger, you don't care. It's just stupid. You like seeing things explode, well, you're going to like this game. In fact, this game ends sort of on a cliffhanger because one of the main drug dealers in this game is hinted to as like this crazy guy that no one can figure out. And the game ends that way where you still don't know who he is. They take out one of the main guys, and maybe the game was trying to set itself up for a sequel, but I don't know. It almost felt like they just forgot that plot point and they just ended it. Now, after beating Total Overdose, which won't take long at all as the game is like only 7 hours, you'll still have a lot of side quests to do and things to collect around the city. And I will say the core gameplay mechanic is great. So if you ever just want to turn something on and shoot up some bad guys in slow motion, you could turn on a Total Overdose, and you can always replay missions with a more leveled up character and have a blast through that as well. There's even a hard mode if you want to try that, and maybe the game is a lot better on that mode. On normal, it's perfectly fine, but the earlier stages needed more difficulty for me, and maybe hard mode will satisfy me there. So I'll go back and see that on my own spare time. But I gotta say, as far as replay value goes, there's a lot of stuff to do after you beat the game. It's been so many years since I've seen Total Overdose, and I've always wanted to play the game, and I finally have. Sure, there are a few unpolished areas, and the game can kind of be a little wonky to set up on PC, but overall, nothing that I experienced took away from the top priority of this game, which is its gameplay. If you like Max Payne, Quentin Tarantino movies, and early 2000s juvenile sense of coolness, and you don't mind a few bumps in the road, then Total Overdose is a game you should try. Thank you guys once again for checking out this review. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that hype button. I'm showing you where that is right now on the screen. Again, I'm grateful for Jehovah God and Jesus Christ for bringing each and every one of you to my channel, as I know you guys could be doing anything right now, but you guys found little old me and decided to stop by, and I know it's because of them. I hope you guys did enjoy the review, and I hope you guys try out Total Overdose. Like I said, it's nothing amazing, but if you like Max Payne and you got a few bucks to spare, and I mean a few bucks, at maximum this game is $10, you can find it for $2, you can't go wrong. It's a fun game that I could see myself turn on every now and again just to play something and have fun, even go through the campaign again. Even with the game's shortcomings, it doesn't take away from the fact that this is an easy pick up and play game that's enjoyable for anyone that's into third-person shooters. So I hope you guys give the game a chance, and I hope you all have a blessed day. Peace.